What if I told you that addiction isn't a moral failing or a lack of willpower, but a hijacking of your brain's most basic survival systems? Imagine your brain as a high-tech control center, constantly working to keep you alive and thriving. But what happens when this system gets hacked? Addiction isn't just about drugs, alcohol, or gambling. It's about the brain's reward system being tricked into prioritizing something harmful over everything else. And the scariest part? It can happen to anyone. Addiction is one of the most misunderstood and stigmatized conditions in the world. It's not just a bad habit or something people can simply snap out of. It's a complex brain disorder that rewires the way we think, feel, and behave. From caffeine to cocaine, from social media to slot machines, addiction takes many forms. But at its core, it's all about the brain's reward system. A system designed to help us survive, but one that can be exploited by substances and behaviors that flood our brains with feel-good chemicals. Today, we're diving deep into the science of addiction, how it works, why it's so hard to break free, and what we can do to reclaim control. Whether you're here to understand a loved one's struggle or to learn more about your own behaviors, this is a journey into the brain and a roadmap to freedom. Let's start with the brain's reward system, a network of neurons and chemicals that evolve to keep us alive. When you eat a delicious meal, hug a loved one, or achieve a goal, your brain releases a neurotransmitter called dopamine. This chemical acts like a highlighter, telling your brain, "This feels good, do it again." It's nature's way of encouraging behaviors that promote survival and well-being. But here's where things go wrong. Substances like drugs, alcohol, and even certain behaviors like gambling or gaming can hijack this system. They flood the brain with dopamine, sometimes up to 10 times the amount you'd get from natural rewards. Over time, your brain starts to crave these supercharged rewards, and the things that used to bring you joy, like a good conversation or a walk in nature, pale in comparison. Think of it like this. If your brain is a car, dopamine is the fuel. Natural rewards give you just enough gas to keep going, but addictive substances hit the nitrous oxide button. Your brain starts to rely on that boost, and everything else feels like it's running on empty. Addiction isn't just about the high, it's about the cycle that keeps you coming back for more. It starts with craving, that intense urge to use or engage in a behavior. When you give in, your brain gets that dopamine rush, and for a moment, everything feels right. But the high doesn't last. As the dopamine levels drop, you're left with withdrawal, anxiety, irritability, and a desperate need to repeat the cycle. Over time, your brain adapts. It starts to produce less dopamine on its own, and the receptors that respond to it become less sensitive. This is called tolerance. You need more of the substance or behavior to feel the same effect, and the cycle becomes harder to break. But it's not just about the brain. Addiction also affects the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and impulse control. This is why people with addiction often know their behavior is harmful but feel powerless to stop. It's like having a car with a broken steering wheel. You know you're headed for a crash, but you can't turn the wheel. Why do some people become addicted while others don't? The answer lies in a mix of genetics and environment. Studies show that genetics account for about 40 to 60% of a person's vulnerability to addiction. If you have a family history of addiction, your brain's reward system might be wired differently, making you more susceptible. But genes aren't destiny. Environment plays a huge role too. Trauma, stress, and early exposure to addictive substances can increase the risk. For example, someone who grows up in a high-stress environment might turn to substances as a way to cope, and over time, this can spiral into addiction. It's also worth noting that not all addictions are created equal. Some substances, like opioids, are so potent that they can rewire the brain after just a few uses. Others, like alcohol or nicotine, might take longer to take hold, but can be just as destructive. Breaking free from addiction isn't easy, but it's absolutely possible. The first step is understanding that addiction is a disease, not a choice. This isn't about willpower, it's about rewiring the brain. One of the most effective ways to do this is through therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT for example, helps people identify and change the thought patterns that drive addictive behaviors. It's like reprogramming the brain software, replacing harmful habits with healthier ones. Medication can also play a role, especially for addictions to substances like opioids or alcohol. Medications like methadone or naltrexone can help reduce cravings and withdrawal symptoms, giving the brain a chance to heal. But recovery isn't just about stopping the behavior, it's about building a new life. This might mean finding new hobbies, building a support network, or addressing underlying issues like trauma or mental health disorders. And let's not forget the power of community. Support groups like Alcoholics Anonymous or Smart Recovery provide a safe space to share experiences and learn from others who've been through the same struggle. Addiction doesn't discriminate. It can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, or socioeconomic status. But too often, it's met with judgment and shame. This stigma can be a huge barrier to recovery, making people reluctant to seek help. The truth is, addiction is a health issue, not a moral failing. By understanding the science behind it, we can start to see it for what it is, a treatable condition. And by offering compassion and support, we can help those struggling to find their way back to themselves. Addiction is a powerful force, but it's not invincible. With the right tools, support, and understanding, it's possible to break free and reclaim your life. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember, you're not alone, and help is out there. What are your thoughts on the science of addiction? Have you or someone you know experienced this journey? Share your stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful, there's plenty more to explore on the channel. Thanks for watching, and remember, understanding is the first step to change.